Welcome to Muskegon Rising, a community service project of the Muskegon Rotary Club. Our purpose is to create lasting positive change. We've been doing that here since 1916. So, let's get started.
Hello and welcome to Muskegon Rising. I'm your host, Aaron Mikey, and today I'm with Walt Gakowski with the Muskegon Clippers. Welcome, Walt.
Thanks, Aaron. I'm glad to be here.
We're glad to have you.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Love to talk baseball.
Me too. My favorite topic.
Your favorite topic. It's been your life for a long time.
It sure has.
So baseball's been played at the corner of Laketon and Peck for over 100 years. Tell our listeners about Marsh Field and the nostalgia surrounding baseball there.
Yeah, well, first of all, I think it's really an important part of not only our city's history, obviously our baseball history as well. And it's 108 years old, built in 1916. And, it has, quite a history. Obviously, there were, at one point in time, you've all seen pictures of the huge grandstand and seating 5,000 people in that old ballpark. And it served as a home of three minor league teams, Muskegon Clippers, where our name is now taken from, but was once a farm club of the New York Yankees. And there was a short period of time when the White Sox had a farm club here. And then the Muskegon Reds later on was a farm club of the Detroit Tigers. And in fact, the Tigers came here in 1946 and played an exhibition game. So with that being said, there were many of the famous Tigers, such as Hank Greenberg, Charlie Gehringer, Harry Heilman, and the list goes on and on and on, who have played here. Jack Ty once managed the Muskegon Reds, which was the Tiger Farm Club. Later on, he did manage the Tigers for a short time. And of course, the Yankees had their share of heroes here as well, and Elston Howard in 1952, I believe. Frank Barnes as well, who had a nice career with the Yankees and the Cardinals. So, Satchel Paige made an appearance long ago when the Negro Leagues were barnstorming across the country. So, it's had its share of famous people. So there's a tremendous amount of history attached to it. And I think it's certainly worth preserving.
Absolutely. And it's really a passion of you and your family. You have a nonprofit, the Clippers. It's a partnership with the city.
Yeah, we're a 501c3. I can guarantee you there's nobody making any money. In fact, we haven't broken even during our entire existence. But in 2010, what was then called the Lakeshore Baseball Club took over Marsh Field. We requested to take it. The city owns it, of course, but we manage it and we maintain it. And that occurred in 2010. The field had become, let's say, in disrepair. I mean, it was not in very good condition. Many of the games that are played there now, such as the city tournament finals, a high school all-star game, were played at different sites. The infield service was such that it really wasn't safe. And no fault of the city. They just didn't have the funds or the manpower to care for it. And you know that baseball fields are high maintenance. So 2010, we did that, and we have put a considerable amount of money with the help of the city, with the help of local businesses, and through some personal savings, almost $300,000 into the ballpark. We put an entirely new infield in. There are now aluminum bleachers replacing the old wooden bleachers. We expanded the dugouts. The original dugouts are still there, but we bumped them out. We added a deck for larger groups, and the list goes on and on and on. But obviously now it's very playable. The surface is ideal, even though it's a grass surface, and the trend is towards synthetic turf, but the game was meant to be played on grass. So that's a little bit of the history, and this has become for us simply a family endeavor. I mean, I tell people all the time that we're a mom and pop organization. My brother kind of sits at the top of the pyramid, my brother Pete. I was the coach for the first 6 or 7 years of our existence. Now I've stepped back and serving as the, quote, general manager, which may sound impressive and glamorous, but the reality is I I clean dugouts and I empty trash and I try to generate sponsorship money and whatever needs to be done. My chief responsibility is to put the roster together. And that can be a complicated and time-consuming job, but that's most of what I do. My wife is one of our beer sellers. My nephew is the groundskeeper. My niece handles a lot of the finances and odds and ends. My sister-in-law does a lot of the work with the volunteers. So every night at Marsh Field is a family reunion. It feels like we got nieces and nephews running around, and being a 501c3, it's just it truly is a passion and a labor of love, I guess. Although there are days, I'll admit, when it feels like labor.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Raking the field and picking up trash sounds like labor to me.
Well, somebody has to do it, and we operate on a shoestring, so we're trying to get it done and do it right with as many volunteers as we can.
Well, not being from this community, I drive by Marsh Field almost every day on my drive to work, and it is absolutely spectacular. It's a beautiful icon in this city.
Yeah, there's a certain charm to it. Obviously, the goal long-term would be to modernize it. If you look at some of the concrete work, it's starting to deteriorate, disintegrate, actually. The dugouts are badly in need of repair, replacement, actually. So there's a number of things on our agenda we hope that we can do over the next year or so and try to make sure that ballpark remains playable and a great place to visit for generations to come.
Absolutely. And I've got some other things I want to talk about, but you brought up the concrete, and you're doing some fundraising right now, and I think you're about to wrap up for a mural that's going to be painted.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
I do, and that was just something that Judy Hayner, I don't know if you're familiar, you probably are with Judy. I just met her a few months ago, but she's been what a lady she is, and I've come to be really impressed by the work and her passion for Muskegon and for the arts. And I'm not necessarily an artsy guy, to be honest with you, but Pete and I have both served on the committee. And I believe the organization is the Institute of Public Art. I'm not exactly sure if that's correct. But nonetheless, there is going to be a mural on the north side of that big garage. It doesn't sound spectacular. You're going to stick it onto a garage. But they did commission an artist out of Chicago that did some of the murals downtown, I understand. And it's impressive. I've seen a mock-up of it. It's very large, and it's going to depict the history of Marsh Field and many of the players that have played there. So that's going to go on the north wall. And then there are also going to be large portraits, quite large, in a baseball card sort of format, depicting some of the famous people that have played there, and those are going to be placed around the ballpark as well. And they're sharp. I think people are going to be impressed by what they see, and I think it really enhances the corner of Peck Street and Laketon Avenue, and it depicts people from way back when, to the modern day, and who have played at that historic ballpark. So really excited about that, and hats off to Judy and her work in getting that done. We're going to dedicate it on July 13th. It's going to be a ceremony at 6 o'clock. There is a game that night, so there'll be more coming out, but it would be wonderful to have people come out and see the dedication and see the fruits of her labor. I did very little other than offer a suggestion or two. So as much as I'd like to take credit, I can't.
Well, it takes a village. And
yes,
of course, as a 501c3 not-for-profit, donations are still being accepted through the Community Foundation for Muskegon County.
Yes, they are. And I believe that we're close to the goal, very close, but I would always welcome additional help. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And so write those checks, make those donations online.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned that you recruit players for the Clippers. How do you go about that?
That's probably the most often asked question that I get. How do you come up with these guys? And there are a number of ways that it happens. What occurs is that over the years, I have built relationships with many of the college coaches. For example, Western Michigan University has been great to us, and their head coach Billy Gernon and their assistant coach Corey Mee generally get a hold of me each fall because I start this process in September, October, just as their fall baseball, which is a 6-week period of time, winds up. And as Billy Gernon has told me, I will give you my 4 best freshmen every year. So he'll give us 4 players, and that's all that I can take from a Division I program. Can't exceed 4 by league rule. So that's one way that I do it. Michigan State has been really good to us. And Andrew Stone, who's an assistant there, and Graham Sykes, who's an assistant there, will typically call me and say, listen, I got a couple of kids, would you take them? So this year we got 2 pitchers from Michigan State. Saginaw Valley is another one that I have a good relationship with. Their current coach was the former pitching coach at Western Michigan, and we had a long history with Western. So when he went to Saginaw, he was anxious to send some of our kids here, his kids here. So we've got players from Saginaw Valley, which is really a D2 program that is on the up, and they're up and coming. They won the GLIAC this year, and he's done a great job recruiting and developing players. So that's one way that we do it. And honestly, after I get those kids, I kind of build around them. They have traditionally been our core. And then there are a lot of colleges where the kids are actually told where they're going. Okay? You're going here, and you're going here, and you're going to this league. And there are others that are so-called free agents. So the kids look for themselves. And I think I take it as quite a compliment because when we have kids here and they have a good experience and then they go back to their respective schools and they tell their teammates, listen, I played in Muskegon last summer and I had a blast. It was really fun. It's a good place to play. And so I'll get kids just calling me too and saying, hey, do you have an opening? I'd like to come to Muskegon and play. So sometimes that happens. There's also through our league website, some kids that are looking for a summer placement. We'll put something through the website, and I'll get that, and I'll contact them. I try to vet them as best I can, make sure they're kids of high character, because we're asking in many cases host families to take them in. So we want to make sure that they're the type of athlete that we want, and so that's sort of how it's done. It just seems to work itself out.
Sounds like a beautiful match.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it, and especially now because I've never had a roster that has been so in flux. I mean, we have had injury after injury. We just lost 2 catchers. In fact, I was on the phone this morning trying to scrape up a catcher for our trip to Southern Ohio tomorrow. So it can be tricky when you have unexpected injuries, and this year especially, it's been tough. We've had a lot of kids hurt. So we manage it. So
good. You mentioned host families. How many kids stay at different families around Muskegon County for the summer?
Well, right now we've got about 31 players active on our roster. I would venture a guess, I don't have it in front of me, but I would say we probably have 8 or 9, maybe 10 host families. Some families will take multiple players. Sometimes I think what they have told me is that it's a little easier to have 2 players than it is 1. And then a lot of the kids, especially if they're from the Grand Rapids area, they may commute. A lot of them commute. We've got players from Zeeland. We've got players from Grand Rapids area. So that helps us because sometimes it's difficult to find host families. Unfortunately, we're not able to subsidize them. But without those folks, we couldn't do it. I mean, they open not only their home but their heart to these kids for 2 months, and God bless them because we just couldn't do it without them.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, it's tremendous. So we're just thrilled that those people are part of our organization.
So what makes the Great Lakes Summer Collegiate League so special?
Well, there are 51 collegiate leagues around the country. I get that question a lot too. And the most famous of all, of course, is the Cape Cod League. This
Your
happens
shirt.
to be a T-shirt from Chatham, right? One of the teams in the Cape Cod. That's where the very best players in the country go. And that place is full of pro scouts, and that's anybody is in Cape Cod. And then from there are leagues that have higher reputations. The Northwoods League is one, which is in this particular area. That's where Traverse City and the Kalamazoo Growlers and the Battle Creek Battlejacks, and now the Royal Oak Leprechauns all play in that. That's got a reputation as being a step above the Great Lakes League. They play 72 games. It's a for-profit league. We've only played, this year only 36. Most years we've played 42. So I would say when we look at those 51 leagues, the Great Lakes League is sort of in the middle. And what I like about the Great Lakes League is I think the number of games is about right. I mean, I don't think, kids need to play more than that. That's my personal feeling. I mean, they've come off a spring season where they have played 50-plus games. Prior to that, they've spent the winter conditioning in the weight room. Prior to that, they went through 6 weeks of fall baseball. And when they finish here, they're going to move back into fall ball at their respective schools. So it is a grind. And what I don't like about the Great Lakes League is the amount of travel that we have. I mean, we're an outlier being in Western Michigan, and our closest trip is about 3 hours. So, and that's to Spring Arbor, near Ann Arbor, where the Michigan Monarchs play. But we're traveling to Lima, Ohio, Salina, Ohio. The last 2 trips are the worst. I mean, we went to Hamilton last weekend, and Tuesday morning we'll get on a bus and we'll travel to Southern Ohio, Copperheads, which is Athens, where Ohio University is. That's a long haul. So it's a grind. It's grueling. I know when the kids got back from Hamilton last Thursday, they walked into their homes at about 4 o'clock in the morning, got some sleep, and they were back at the ballpark at 4 to set up for BP and stretch and throw, and we hit at 5. So, and part of the goal really, Aaron, is to give the kids as close to a minor league experience as we can. So they're spending a lot of time on buses and in hotels, and it's a grind. And I can tell you, doing it for 6 or 7 years, it wore me out.
I bet it did.
Yeah.
Some long road trips.
Yeah. You get tired. I mean, I'll be honest, and I've told the kids this. There were days when, I'd go out in my driveway and look at the skies and do a little rain dance. Hope that we had a cancellation because, you get, as much as I love the game, there are days when I just want a day away from the ballpark.
Yeah, lots of naps on the bus, I would imagine.
Yeah, and it's not the most comfortable place to sleep either, as you probably well know. But
yes, sir. So what does the future hold for Marsh Field? I mean, it's 108 years, and what's the next 100 years for Marsh Field look like?
Well, that's a real good question, and we have talked about that a lot, our group, and it's not just Pete and I mean, his family members, and Tim Lipan has been an integral part of our organization. Not only does Tim do the PA, but, he has a real feel and sense for marketing. He's pretty well connected to the community and so on. So there are a lot of people who are helping. I don't want to leave anybody with the thought that it's somehow just my brother and I, because that's not true. But anyway, our plan is to modernize that ballpark. So we have hired an architectural firm some time ago. We've had a lot of conversations with them. We've looked at various plans, drawings. We're still awaiting a final drawing, something that we could actually get construction bids, and we could display at the ballpark so that folks could see what a new Marsh Field would look like. We try hard to maintain the history of it, but at the same time, everything has to change. I mean, one of the saddest days in my life is when they took the wrecking ball to Tiger Stadium. That was hard for me to swallow, but, it sort of had to be done. And that's the way I feel about Marsh Field. The bathrooms are simply inadequate. The press box is too small now that especially since we're live streaming games. And the concession is too small. We don't have enough seating. Dugouts are a maintenance nightmare, and they're way too small, and they're disintegrating before our eyes. So, all of those things, and and plus, you want a ballpark, I think, in my opinion, that has some curb appeal and something that that the community can be really proud of and will last for generations to come. So that's the next goal. Now, how we pull that off, I am no expert at capital campaigns. I'm a baseball guy, but we're going to take a shot at this, I think, in the fall and see if there's enough people in town, personal, corporate, whatever, that would be willing to preserve that old ballpark. That is, for me, it's the ultimate goal.
That sounds amazing. I was taking notes, remember the history, but embrace and build the future.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or else it'll collapse in front of you and disintegrate, right? So we need to invest in it.
Yes, we do. I mean, the fencing is not in very good shape. And, I just think I've never been one that is comfortable with mediocrity. I mean, and I like to think of myself as a bit of a visionary. I see what could be. And while I'm really proud of what we've done and what we have, this is not a complaint or a criticism. I just always look to take a step forward, make it better than it was before. And I think that's true of whatever you do. And so that's the next step.
Sounds amazing. Well, is there anything that we haven't discussed that you'd like to have our viewers know about Marsh Field or the Clippers?
No, I guess what I would say to them is if you haven't been to a ball game, give it a try. I think for the Muskegon area, we have so many opportunities for summer activities, things to do. This is just one more menu item. And if you came to Marsh Field, you watched a ball game, the amount of fan engagement that we have, we sell adult beverages. People come and they enjoy it, they love it. And I would encourage people, to give us a try. We used to say that it's the most fun you can have for $5, and the reality is now prices have risen to $7, but it's still the most fun you can have for $7. And I think they'll enjoy their time there. It's quality baseball. It's not a bunch of old timers like me trying to play. It's quality baseball. These are young kids who aspire to play at the next level professionally. We've had some people play professionally. I just would, on a side note, I might be off topic here a little bit, but recently a young man named Blake Dunn, who played for us 4 years ago, was last year the minor league player of the year for the Cincinnati Reds, and he was brought up to the big leagues. So Blake's one of our alumni who is now in the big leagues, and we're really proud of that. We have Jacob Bushberger, who played for us, who's in Double-A with the Cardinals. We had a young man named Ryan Doro, who played for us, who had a cup of coffee, I guess, as we say, with the Texas Rangers, but was in the big leagues for a short time. He's now the head baseball coach at Hope College. And there have been a number of others. Ian Leatherman is in Class A baseball with the Tampa Ray Devil Rays. So, we've got kids that have advanced, and we're really proud of that. And I'd like to think that, maybe we played a very, very, very small role in that. But it is quality baseball. It's economically friendly. It's family friendly. We have a little league team come out every night. They shag balls during BP. They hang around in the dugout with the guys before the game. They collect autographs. They run out for the national anthem with them. So it's just been, I think, a great experience. It's growing. Our fan base is growing. We're becoming a little more known, and I would encourage people to give us a try. I don't think they'd be sorry.
Wood baseball bats and natural grass for baseball.
Yes, wood bats.
What could be better?
And that there's nothing like the sound of that. So we've got some exceptional players this year. And we've got some injuries right now, so we're a little bit struggling. We're 5-4 through the first 9 games, but if the season ended today, we'd be a playoff team. So we'll put it together here in the coming weeks. I'm pretty confident. Our coaching staff is phenomenal, and just excited about what's to come, not only for the Clippers, but for Marsh Field and for the young people who love the game of baseball. And I think we do it for the kids. They deserve the best, and we ought to provide them with what we can.
Well, we appreciate that, Walt.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Well, thank you again, Walt, general manager, dugout keeper, and everything else at Marsh Field.
Trash collector.
Trash
Forgot
collector.
that, yeah.
For the Muskegon Clippers. So thank you so much for listening to Muskegon Rising. Have a wonderful day.